I lost my late wife to breast cancer years ago. I have a 19-year-old son, Chris, who's been through so much ever since his mother's passing. We grew close because of this tragedy, and he's been the most important thing in my life since he was born. I met a wonderful woman, Melanie, 2 years ago, and we got engaged few months back. We're getting married this month and already have everything set. Now, onto the issue at hand. My in-laws are extremely conservative, they come from the deep south. They met Chris's boyfriend by chance at our house and were extremely uncomfortable, even though my son's boyfriend is sweet and well-mannered. They acted cold towards him and Chris and left dinner early. I spoke with Melanie about it and she asked me to give them time to adjust since we're a blended family. I was invited by my in-laws to discuss the wedding and mother-in-law and father-in-law requested that I don't let Chris's boyfriend come to the wedding. I asked why and they gave no reason. Just that they were uncomfortable with Chris's boyfriend around. I figured it had to do with their beliefs and they asked me to please respect that and not argue about it. I decided I wanted to argue about it and told them Chris's boyfriend is invited and will attend my wedding. They attempted to talk me into using an excuse to uninvite him if I was worried about Chris's reaction, but I refused and told them they have a choice not to attend if they were uncomfortable, and then I left. They blew up Melanie's phone claiming I was excluding them from their daughter's wedding and forcing them out of it and offending them too. She brought it up saying that as their only daughter, her parents want to see her get married and it wasn't fair for me to tell them not to come. I corrected her and explained they wanted me to uninvite Chris's boyfriend to my wedding. She said Chris and his boyfriend are nice, but asked me to consider and was sure Chris' boyfriend will understand since her parents seemed to not want to let it go. I flipped out and told her that either her family respects me and my son and his boyfriend or they won't be able to come to the wedding. She said she could talk to Chris and his boyfriend, but I said no. She said I was putting her in a hard place and making her choose between me and her family, which isn't the way to solve this conflict, and I was acting like she has no say. I asked if she agreed with them. She said no, but thought Chris not bringing his boyfriend will be easier than the grief she gets if her parents are uninvited. We're still arguing about it and she's still saying I'm making her choose between me and her family, knowing how they are even though she disagrees with them. Not the idiot, and in my opinion this is a hill to die on. Your fiancée might be a wonderful woman, but she is also someone who is willing to exclude your son and his sweet and well-mannered boyfriend. I don't believe it is just because she finds it easier than dealing with the grief she gets if her parents are uninvited. I suspect that she is not nearly as accepting of your son as you think. Your fiancé's behavior here is a big red flag. Proceed with caution. Choose wisely if this is the woman you're seriously choosing to be your son's stepmother. A woman who will bow to her bigoted parents' requests rather than step up for your son's right to have his boyfriend at his father's wedding. It won't stop here, he's always going to be a point of contention for your future in-laws. Your fiancée is choosing her family over what should be her new family. Her parents have a choice. If they refuse to go anywhere they may encounter a gay couple. I'll bet they aren't getting out much. This is a tough situation and I don't envy Melanie's position. However, she has to recognize that her parents are putting her in the middle and not let it drive a wedge between you. In the end, if they want to see her married, they will deal it up, act like adults, and be polite despite their personal beliefs. So long story short, I, 29, was engaged to my sister's now husband Mike. A month before the wedding I caught Mike, 33, cheating on me with my sister, 33, Lily, on my bed. I dumped him on the spot. After doing some digging I found out that they had been having an affair for 6 months and that my sister was 2 months pregnant with his baby. Most of our family had cut of Lily, but after her daughter, Emily, was born she was accepted back into the family. This is mostly because Emily was the first grandchild, first great-grandchild, and first niece. Lily and Mike also got married not long after Emily, 6, was born. Even though Lily has been accepted back into the family, I don't speak to her or Mike or Emily. I don't want anything to do with them. I know Emily is innocent in all this, but being around her and seeing her just reminds me of all the pain I felt when I found out about Lily and Mike. Our parents have tried to get me to forgive and forget, but I just can't. So now the issue, my parents usually babysit Emily for my sister when she works or when she runs errands. Lily loves to drop off Emily unannounced. Last week she apparently had an emergency at work and she came to drop off Emily, but our parents weren't home. They had gone out with some friends and would not be back till the next day. When I told her this, she begged and asked if I could just watch Emily since I wasn't working that day. I flat out told her no. She kept begging, saying it's just for a few hours and that she was my niece. I told her no again. She then said okay and I just walked away. A few minutes later I heard her car pull off and the doorbell ring. When I opened the door, I saw Emily standing there. When I asked her about her mom, she said mommy said you will look after me. I brought her inside and called Lily and told her that if she didn't come back for her child, I would be calling the police and telling them that someone abandoned their child at my doorstep. After some back and forth she came back and picked Emily up. The next when my parents came home they were furious at me for what I did. They went off on how I should have already gotten over my hate for Lily and her family already and grow up and about how I almost cost Lily her job. I tried telling them that I have gotten over it, but I simply don't want anything to do with Lily and her family. They kept going on and on until I just walked away. I have been getting calls and messages from Lily's friend calling me an idiot and some other names. I spoke to my other siblings and some friends about this, and I have been getting conflicting opinions. Some say I was justified in how I reacted, while others say I acted like an idiot and could have just watched a kid for a few hours. I need some outsider's perspective on all this. Was I an idiot here? Not the idiot. That is something you will never be able to fully get over. Your parents are being selfish on telling you to get over it. You cannot force a relationship with a child. You have no reason to get to know the kid unless you truly want to. It is okay that you want nothing to do with them. You got burned in a very terrible way. If it was me I would have done the exact same thing you are doing. Don't feel bad about it. Maybe one day it'll get better, but it's not your responsibility to act like nothing happened. You don't need to have a relationship with anyone. You just don't. Remind your parents or whomever that you will not entertain any further nonsense from them. If they disagree, walk away. Re-engage on your terms. You don't owe them anything. To those saying the kid isn't at fault, etc. True, but again, the kid doesn't need an aunt who doesn't want to be in her life. Why force it? The kid will pick up real quick. Quit forcing these fictional ties. Not the idiot, but you need to move out of your parents' house. It is the only way for you to completely go no contact with Lily and her family. As long as you live with your parents you will probably continue to run into similar situations. The fact that your sister just left her child at the door after you said no to watching her shows that she is still the same selfish person who is only concerned about what she wants. She does not sound like anyone you should ever have in your life. No one has the right to tell you to get over it. Your parents want you to because it is what is easiest for them and the rest of the family. You need to be selfish and look out for yourself because your family is not going to. My 26 sister, 28, went to school in a town that is a popular destination for some of the people in our area. Because of this, our parents bought a condo nearby. There is a hotel there that is known for weddings. We would visit this hotel frequently and eventually became fond of the place. I had never considered getting married there until I brought my now fiancé, 25, there on vacation for the first time 3 years ago. We would look at the rooms and talk about the idea of one day maybe being able to get married there. I also knew my sister liked the place as well, but she had never expressed any desire to get married there from my knowledge. Fast forward to this past October and my sister became engaged to her now fiancé, 28. They ended up planning a wedding at a beautiful venue in the city next to us. After their plans were solidified, I proposed to my fiancé in May. We looked at a few places for venues, but ended up exploring the hotel that we knew about from our vacations. We did our research, bargained with vendors, and scheduled a trip to visit with our parents to finalize the deal in person. Then out of the blue, my sister had a complete meltdown. She came to my mom and told her that she wants to stop us from getting married there. She claims this has been her dream wedding forever and she won't be able to stand the sight of her brother getting married there. We tried to have a phone conversation with her where she was bawling her eyes out and asked us to cancel our plans. She said that the hotel means so much to her since she went to school near there and has more memories than we realize, and she couldn't believe we would even consider looking into it knowing how upset this made her. We also learned that her fiancé did not want to get married at the hotel and that played a part in their venue choice. Over the past 2 months, we had brought up the venue multiple times in front of my sister and never heard any concerns from her. 2 days pass, and she is still mad that we haven't cancelled our plans. My parents offered her to cancel her wedding so that she could replan hers at the hotel. She talked to her fiancé about this, and he still said that he did not want to get married there. Then, after a week of ongoing conflict, my parents and us had a final meeting on our wedding plans before the trip. Apparently, my sister had access to the camera system in my parents' house and spied on the meeting. This is where I believe I may be the idiot. She heard me say the following. I have little sympathy for my sister at this point. This sent her over the edge again. She accused my fiancé of manipulating me into having our wedding here since there is no way my brother cares this much. Jump to last night, and we just learned that she is threatening to move across the country with her fiancé since she feels that her immediate family no longer cares about her or her feelings. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but something is wrong with your sister. For her to care that much, seemingly out of the blue, is weird. For her to bawl her eyes out and spy on you over a wedding venue is alarming. If you are going to spy on someone, you may not like what you hear. Your sister sounds like she is way too immature to be getting married. If she cannot get her act together and her fiancé figures out that she is crazy, she might find out that her wedding may end up being called off. What's next? She had a dream of getting married in your state, so you have to have it elsewhere. She doesn't own a venue, even if she did get married there. She's getting married elsewhere, she needs to deal with her fiancé if that's causing her issues. Not hitting you with her problems. As for your sympathy comment, you shouldn't. She doesn't deserve any when she's getting bent out of shape over something that has nothing to do with her. Your sister does not sound mature enough to be getting married. If she is upset that she cannot have the venue of her choice, that is on her fiancé. She has no right to dictate to you where you can and can't have your wedding. If I were her fiancé, I would be rethinking their wedding. She can scream all she wants and claim that she will move across the country, but has her fiancé agreed to that? I totally get why OP does not have a lot of sympathy for his sister. She is acting like a childish brat. I would be concerned about her attending OP's wedding because she may try to ruin it. My older sister is getting married in a few months, and I was supposed to be maid of honor, but 2 weeks ago I had to make the decision to pull out. My sister is pissed. And I have told her she needs to understand my position here, but she claims I'm only making excuses, so I said I would let you guys decide. My husband and I adopted our kids from foster care 2 years ago. Our son was 6 and our daughter was 4. We had them for a year before the adoption was finalized. Days before we all went into lockdown, our daughter was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, which in our case meant she was prone to anger and did not form attachments with people, including us, and it was both a relief and a curse. It was a curse because it happened when we couldn't attend in-person therapies and she needed them. It was months before she could attend therapies in person, and she did not cope well with being cooped up with us. We finally started to see some improvements with her, and life was starting to take some shape. But then life went to downhill several weeks ago. One of their former foster parents was in jail and got out. We were notified, and the social worker did a poor job of the notification in that she just announced it at the door with the kids in earshot. It resulted in what I would call a relapse of RAD in our daughter, and in our son, he became very emotionally distressed and clingy and has needed to go under evaluation to see what the best course of treatment is. Right now I am the parent they do better around, especially our daughter, who is starting to reject my husband again, and the healthy attachment she had with him is almost non-existent again due to what we believe is suppressed trauma relating to their former foster home. Right now I am not working. I am basically working through therapies, and we have moved to school online for both for the upcoming year due to the challenges we are now facing. I can't dedicate time to my sister's wedding. We're unsure whether I will even make it. I can't put stuff on my husband relating to our daughter while I focus on maid of honor stuff because it is a safety issue. Their interactions are done with me around her in a controlled environment with a therapist present. My sister does not feel this is a valid reason to drop out. She said I should be putting her first here, and as her only sister, being maid of honor should be important to me. Am I the idiot? Your sister's wedding is important. But your children's health, safety, and well-being are even more important. It would be awesome if things improve enough for you to be able to go to her wedding and support her, but as things stand, acting as a worst case scenario and letting her know now that you can't be maid of honor and might not be able to attend is a smart choice and saves everyone in the long run. Your sister has every right to be upset and maybe even resent you a little bit because it is her wedding, but your reasons are entirely valid. Not the idiot. You're at an absolutely critical point with your kids' mental and emotional health and whole family well-being. You don't have time and energy to spare. That doesn't mean you don't love your sister to bits. If you can't do it, you can't do it. I'd pull out all the stops to make sure you're there for her on the day, though, even if only for a limited period. I think your sister must be feeling very hurt and rejected. Making your sister maid of honor is a sign she sees you two as being very close, and hearing that you can't make time for her must be hard to hear and process. It is hard for people without kids, or even people with easy kids, to understand things can be as hard and moment to moment as your life is, and the idea you can't take one day off from it. In the end, you don't have room in your life for your sister's wedding right now, and that is not your fault, but she is allowed to be hurt and upset by it. My best friend and I have this long-standing prank joke where we one-up each other at celebrations. We have been doing this since high school, and we're now in our late 20s. To give you an example, for my birthday one year, my friends and I met up at a central location with our cars and cruised around wine country, visited different wineries, etc. My best friend, instead of showing up in his 2005 Mercedes, showed up in a rented Ferrari that only he was allowed to drive. Another example is when we went on a trip to Vegas for his birthday. I arranged for a limo to pick myself and our friends up at the airport and take us to our Airbnb while he had to take an Uber. His fiancée knows about our dumb little tradition and loves it. I have even enlisted her help on several of these pranks. Now, he is getting married at his grandparents' ranch in October. The ranch is huge and has a private runway on the property. I thought it would be funny to continue our tradition by arriving at their wedding via helicopter. The runway is up a hill from where the wedding is held, so the wedding itself won't be impacted by the wind produced by the helicopter's rotors. However, when I told the plan to a buddy of mine, he said this would be an idiot move, saying it would be too much of an upstaging. It's their wedding and is supposed to be all about them since, ideally, they will only ever have one wedding. So, would I be the idiot? I wouldn't do it. I think upstaging a wedding is a really bad idea. Here's the thing, I think that people tend to focus on the wrong aspects of getting married. It's a celebration of love between two people, their friends and family. So since this is a tradition for you two, I wouldn't be personally angry, I'd think it was funny, but what about the bride? What about the other people in attendance? I just feel like this is in bad taste. Even if the bride was cool with these kinds of pranks in the past, that doesn't mean she'd be cool with this. You would be the idiot. The wedding and a birthday are completely different events. You should not upstage your friend at his wedding. The focus definitely should be on the couple, not on some ongoing joke you guys have. Also, consider the ramifications of your actions. If you go ahead with a joke, people who are unaware of the history will think of you as an idiot. Your friend and his fiancée could also think of you as an idiot. If you don't do the joke, no one will think you are an idiot for respecting the importance of the occasion. I'm gonna go with not the idiot because your intentions seem genuinely good and your actions would technically be in line with what part of your friendship has been like over the years. However, keep in mind that people tend to become particularly sensitive about their wedding day, so maybe ask the fiancé beforehand, and if you do decide to go forward with this idea, that by the way I find hilarious, try to take up as little time as possible the day of the wedding, making your entrance before the start of the ceremony, so that once it's done and everyone has had a good laugh, the rest of the day can be spent focusing on the happy couple.